In our sacred dreaming, the land was once flat. And then the sacred movements of the Wargle that appeared in the east and moved across that flat land. Then came the rain that filled it up and made the rivers and the wetlands.
The waterway, is at the heart of this city, and I think is at the heart of the culture of the people in this city. 70 odd kilometres of river going that way up until it reaches the Avon, and another 100 kilometres up through the Canning. Massive amount of community values looking into this asset.
The southern part of Australia has lost sort of 80 to 90% of, in particular, of its native flat oyster shellfish reefs. For the Swan-Canning project, the initial focus and a lot of the background work went into the native blue mussel, which was chosen because it was abundant in the system, particularly we think following the dredging of the channel at Fremantle. And we didn't pursue the native flat oyster originally because we didn't think that it was going to be a prime target this far north in Western Australia.
In systems like the Swan-Canning, they're facing multiple challenges through climate change, loss of habitat. The project really came about in terms of thinking around how we can start to do positive on-ground work to help support the health of our urban estuaries like the Swan.
To understand what the pristine system looks like, we really do have to go back to the earliest historical records, and that means going back to the arrival of Europeans, looking at how they documented the estuary as they were exploring it, as they were building Perth up into what it became today, and taking from their observations various insights we can extract from the historical records to understand what that pristine estuary actually looked like. The alteration of the system really does begin in 1925 when a very large industrial cement factory begins operating in Perth. The subfossil assemblages are dredged on an industrial scale, taken by a barge to the works at Rivervale, mixed with limestone, heated to 1,000 degrees, and that produced cement. So the impact was then, I think, quite significant. We're not talking about living or functioning biological reefs. They had died out a long time in the past, but they still provided all sorts of ecological benefits in the estuary, especially around the provision of habitat for invertebrates and fish. So of course that was removed progressively during the first half of the 20th century, and that would have contributed, I think, in a quite substantial way to the degradation of the system across that time frame.
What excited me about this project to start with was that we were going for scale, and that's really, really important because it's one thing to know what it can do, and it's another thing to get it to a scale where it can actually impact a waterway. We're building a limestone base above what's now a really sort of empty sediment within the system. They load limestone onto the barge, and what they do is they very accurately drop that limestone into position to build reef units, if you like, so multiple reefs at each of these locations, in order to enable us to seed that with mussels and kick off basically a new ecosystem within the river.
This marine restoration initiative really aligns perfectly with Lottery West Community Investment Framework, and one of those pillars is to protect our environment and the diverse ecosystems that we have in WA. I'm really proud to be aligned with a project that's going to really be enhancing and improving this amazing asset.
Every restoration project is really, it's a long-term journey. We know with these reefs, we're not going to see them at their absolute best until they're at least 10 years old. But what we're seeing so far is really, really promising.
It's a scientist's dream, really, to see everything go from start to finish. I think that's what's amazing. TNC set up the project and they installed the reefs back in 2022, and we were working a collaborative project with them. They are meant to be self-sustaining reefs, but what's really important is that we see how growth is fluctuating over time. So by monitoring yearly at different seasons or every other year, you can see changes in growth. And then what you can do is actually look at other variables such as temperature, water quality, to see if that's affecting growth in the river as well. And then being able to go out today and see the abundance of life that's down there is incredible.
We're almost 3 years since construction of the full-scale reefs began. And now when you dive down the reefs, the first thing you're greeted by is a plethora of fish. We've got doughboy scallops, we've got the native flat oyster, we've got dwarf oysters, we have some limited amount of recruitment of blue mussels now as well, and some seeded blue mussels that we put down originally that are still surviving. It's important to be clear that not everything went as originally planned. While some of the seeded blue mussels have survived, their numbers have decreased compared to our initial expectations. I mean, that said, what's emerged has been just remarkable. You know, we're seeing unexpected growth in native flat oysters, and I think, you know, this is really a testament to the restoration methodology that TNC has developed, which really creates reefs that promote natural recruitment of shellfish species. These kind of surprises are a natural part of, in particular, adaptive restoration, which is really what we're doing here in the Swan. Success in marine restoration doesn't mean everything goes perfectly. It means being responsive, grounded in science, and committed for the long haul.
I'm really excited by this kind of project. We've seen some really good outcomes associated with this, and I believe what we've learned from this will be really valuable going forward.
Yeah, on a personal level, I mean, just fantastic to, really kudos to the Nature Conservancy for having this vision, because it's a big project, lots of pitfalls, and they've all been overcome.
It's amazing to be able to get out on the water and actually see changes over time. That's what's so great with science, is that you see it being seeded, and then we're going through and we're seeing long-term growth, which is great.
You know, I grew up sailing on the water that you're looking at behind me here, and it's amazing to come from that, being out there as a tacker, learning about the environment, and then, privileged position of actually being able to try and improve the quality of the water and of the ecosystems in your own backyard.